And good evening, everyone. Welcome to Saturday Night Live and Rambling with Moffat on Money. I'm Clay Moffat. Glad to be with you tonight. We will be joined shortly, hopefully very shortly, by the lovely and gracious Miss Ellen. She's at her grandfather's. And there's a lot going on there. So she got tied up for a few minutes and is trying to get everything set up and logged on. So she'll be here shortly. Pancake, good to see you. Sky, good to see you. Good evening. I hope everybody is surviving the winter storm wherever you are. I've seen some of our friends up north are at 30 below. Yeah, can't imagine. I saw one little video where somebody had a pot of hot water and just literally poured it in a circle outside, and it froze into a spiral and rising up from the ground. And it was about 2 feet below the pot, and so it had 2 feet to fall. And they kept raising the pan up and spinning it, and it kept freezing. Yeah, I don't know about you, but that's pretty damn cold. That's a little bit too damn cold for me. Here we've been in the 50s and 60s, so not a big problem. But hope all of y'all are doing well. It's been a good week. School's just getting started. Probably that's true around the country for a lot of y'all. And trying to get back to the routine of life after the Christmas holidays and Christmas break. So it's good to be with you. And there she is.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh crap! Hang on.
Clear. As I mentioned, Ellen is at her grandfather's, and so there's a little bit of
All right, how about now?
Yes, you were fine before. We can hear you.
Hello.
We can hear you.
I can't hear you. Oh, there we go.
You okay?
Oh, thank God.
That
I
better?
made it. No, but yes. Trying.
No, but yeah, that sums up 2024 so far.
Yes, exactly.
I had a number of people tell me it's getting off to a rough start for some people. So we're still hoping and wishing all of y'all have a better 24 than 23. We know there was a lot of difficulty out there. Still is, actually. So hopefully everybody's off to a good start. Tonight, I think we've got a interesting show. We're going to be actually introducing how do I say this? A new dimension to the show.
We gotta wait. We gotta wait.
I'm waiting.
She's not here yet.
And then we've got, I think, a kind of an interesting topic to a lot of people. Crypto. We've had a number of questions off of crypto, what it is, how it is, and where it is. So we'll try to answer some of that tonight. Sky Ricky, where did you lock up the dogs? Closet upstairs, back in the corner. That way I don't have to listen to them whine and cry and scratch and plead or whatever.
They're with me. They're both right underneath my feet. I assume you told them I was my grandfather's. I'm assuming you gave them the.
Yeah, I told them you were at your grandfather's.
Yeah, so that is what like nothing's working.
Apparently, both Chunk and Tallulah have fallen in love with her grandfather, and he with them.
Yes.
He's throwing the ball endlessly for Chunk, so Chunk is just in heaven.
Yeah, even when I'm like, no, we're done. He will grab the ball from the drawer that I put it in and start throwing it again. I'm like,
yeah, her grandfather will, not Chunk.
No, yes. So I'm just like, seriously, do we have to keep going with this?
Yeah, so he's doing what grandfathers normally do and spoiling the babies endlessly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really worked out. Excuse me. It's really worked out well for both of them, for all of them.
Yeah, and it's funny because usually Pop's talking to Chunk right now. Usually his Yorkie will run off, so he has to keep her on a leash outside when they're out there. But with these two dogs, with my two dogs here, she hasn't even tried. No leash, and it's been pretty awesome.
I think
And
she's enjoying the company too.
Yeah, and Pop said, I think she's changing the way she looks at things now because she has more freedom if she just hangs around. I said, I agree. I hope it sticks.
What's the old adage? If you love someone, let them go.
If they come
return,
back.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Marley's getting it figured out. Good for her.
So maybe we should do the comedy video and wait for she who shall not be named to show up.
Okay. So we're gonna have a little bit of a introduction here, I guess is how I want to say it. This video is a comedian by the name of Matt Rife. Rife?
Right.
Okay. And actually, let me stop this and restart it. Thought this would make a good little warm up to the topic tonight of cryptocurrency. So here for a minute and a half is Matt Rife.
What's wrong with that? Legos in his bedroom? Well, maybe don't fuck 8-year-olds in the first place. Maybe not. Elaborate.
He was 23.
He was 23.
And he had a Lego village in his bedroom.
He had a Lego village in his bedroom. Okay, so you don't fuck with architecture. Did you ever play with him? Ungrateful. It was like a town that he had built? All right, sex aside, was it kind of impressive? It was a little bit. That's what I'm talking about, see? Judging too much. Where'd you meet him?
New York City.
New York City? A lot of buildings. Is that where you're from?
Yeah.
Nice. What are you doing out here?
Working.
Working? Oh, what do you do?
Crypto.
Crypto? I want to roast you, but you're going to be poor in 4 years. And I really don't want to fuck with that. Oh, my God. You mad at this dude for building imaginary cities. You play with imaginary money. Fucking hypocrisy, am I right? That's insane.
That's kind of a good start.
That's kind of a good start because, a lot of people do think it's imaginary money or you will lose if you invest in it. So that's really what we're going to look at tonight and talk about.
Hey, Melissa. I will tell him you said hello.
We have Could you hear that?
I can't hear anything.
Okay. This is where we're, kind of breaking things up a little bit here. We are very pleased to announce that we now have a swoosh. I guess I can call it a swoosh.
It's a swoosh.
Courtesy of Melissa. So here it is, the premiere of the Moffat on Money swoosh.
Show me the money!
The timing was a little off. There we go. Oop. Did the whole thing download? I can't see the whole thing.
That's it.
No. He comes up and you can see the tag.
That's all I got downloaded.
Show me the money!
Was there more?
It's just too fast.
Well, that's all I got. So maybe there was a problem with my download, but
Melissa, does that look right? Sound right to you?
that is courtesy of Miss Melissa Simcock, who we are
Simic.
very, very grateful to. Who we're very, very grateful to for her efforts in putting that together. Literally, when I first opened it and played it, I laughed out loud. So I think that's pretty epic.
Give some love to Melissa for that one.
Yes, much love to Melissa for that. It it is a welcome addition.
Like it is playing slightly. So that's what I thought, Melissa. See.
Let me see. I mean, it shows on regular speed. Let me
I
try
think
it a
you're
little
down like,
slower.
can you go to the email and show it from there?
Hold on.
Because it was much better. The timing was much better, and that matters.
Do what?
The timing and everything matters.
Yeah. Here it is on half speed.
No, don't do half speed. You're gonna mess up the sound. Just go to the email and play it from there.
All right.
Show me the money!
It's still slow. That's not from the email.
Yeah, it is. That's 1 times.
Yeah, that's not how I saw it though. Let me try it. Sorry,
Okay.
y'all, but
No, we want to get this right. Melissa's
did a great job, and I want to make sure that she gets the credit that she deserves. All right, we are on Twitter live. Imagine that. Which is cool. Let me change accounts real quick. I need that to go away. Hang on.
so my version is playing too fast.
No,
Compared with
the
what you saw?
video is too slow.
Okay.
Let me do it this way. Sorry.
Hello,
Working
Carson.
on
It's
it.
good to see you, man. Glad to have you.
I do not have the best speed, so we are going to do the best we can.
Too early or too late? Melissa, for whatever reason, the video and audio are not syncing properly together
They're
now
not.
on YouTube.
That's what I thought. And it's not syncing now on this one, but it did it great on the actual email. Hang on. All right, we got to work on that one. Can I go back to my email?
Carson corrects my error. It was -40 this morning, not -30.
Yikes.
You know, once it reaches a certain point, can you tell a difference?
Yeah.
I mean, there's like, it's too damn cold to go outside, or it's too damn cold to go outside.
It's all the above. Okay, seems to be.
You can tell when Ellen's deep in thought, she talks with her hands.
And I talk to myself, so I do apologize for that. And there it is. There, maybe. Okay. Let's try that one. Sorry, y'all. You can continue to speak, and I will. Oh no, we're not doing that. And I'll Sorry, I talked to myself. Can't do that.
Well, Ellen says I could continue to speak, so it's not drawing as much attention to her completely mystified face or little guttural comments,
Apologize.
as she is so intently focused, determined to master YouTube and to learn how to play a
No.
video on YouTube.
Just this video, because it was fine in the email. It's just not fine now. So it was perfect in the email. So Clay,
And I loaded
continue on.
And I loaded it from the email.
I did too, and it still didn't do what it should have done. It was still off sync.
So if any of you tech geniuses knows why it's not working either live as a downloaded video or on YouTube proper, any other answer other than user error will be welcome.
Yes, and Melissa, if you can send me the program that you created it on, that might help too. So I can make sure it's getting what it needs to be done. So hey everybody, I'm back because I can't, it's not going to do it.
Well, we will try to work on and figure out what the issue is with the video, because we really do want to get that right. There was a lot of effort put into it. We dearly love it. So thank you, Melissa, and we'll get it figured out. But tonight, just to let you know, I did it in iMovie. You know, that might be, I don't know, because we're using Windows. It's like I prepared some of these slides, which you are now looking at, sent them to Ellen, and the formatting on hers, we're both using Windows, but the formatting was messed up on hers. She was like, oh, you need to center this, you need to do this. And I'm like, all looks good on my end. So there are times when, unfortunately, technology is great and times when it's not, but we'll get it figured out.
Yes, we will. We want it to be a thing.
So tonight, crypto. Big week in crypto. There was a lot of talk literally for the past couple of weeks about the potential of a Bitcoin ETF, exchange traded fund. So think of it as just kind of like a mutual fund for Bitcoin purchases that trades on the stock exchange. So you can buy shares of it, and through the intermediary, you can own Bitcoin. So some people are unsure of how to buy Bitcoin or unsure whether it was legitimate enough to want to buy it, whether or not it was a good investment, had a hard time tracking it, whatever, all sorts of reasons. Well, having the SEC approve an ETF is, you know, a fairly significant regulatory hurdle, and, you know, offers some legitimacy to cryptocurrency itself. So as the comedian was saying, you'll be broke in 4 years. Maybe not. So we're going to take a look at it tonight and kind of, as I refer to it, shuck it down to the cob. Hopefully give you a better understanding of what's going on in the markets, what's going on with crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum specifically, and what, more importantly, the future of digital currency is. Now, we're going to start off with the basics, make sure everybody's on the same page as far as crypto, because there's a lot
For the record, at this point, Clay is going to get into the weeds. So if he goes beyond, hang on, what the average person can understand, please type weeds.
Yeah, don't hesitate.
He teaches this, so he can go down that path pretty freaking quickly, and it can be a little.
But I hope this is like a 10,000 foot view. I'm going to try to keep it quick, modestly concise, but I want everybody having a familiarity and comfortability with how does crypto work? Because to understand how it works gives you a better understanding of whether or not it's, just for fun or a fake or forgery or whether it's something in the future. So
True.
that's why we're going to take a little time and review exactly what Bitcoin is, what the blockchain is, what money is, what really constitutes money. And then you better understand possibly what the future of it. Now, to start off with, we're going to define money. What is money? Money is a solution to a problem as old as time itself. How to move economic value across time and space, move it into the future. Now, historically, the only way really to exchange value was to use barter or direct exchange. That's great if you have something that somebody else wants, if you make something or produce something or grow something that somebody else wants, and they have something you want. So you can just barter, exchange. But what if you produce one thing, but the person you're trying to do business with already has it, doesn't want it, but they've got something you want? That's where money comes in. Money allows people to specialize. What is a TARDIS?
It's the thing from the guy that Cumberbatch. The sorry, I'm doing 10 things right now.
Well, I'll figure it out a little later, I guess.
Melissa, the Tom guy. Doctor Who, thank you. Doctor Who.
Okay, that makes no sense. But that's all right. We'll work on it. So the absence of money, if you're having to barter, you can't specialize. So you have to.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing.
It's all right. You can't, you have to do a broad, like farming. You have to grow a bunch of different things. You can't just specialize in one product and try to improve it or the production thereof. So if you're in a barter or exchange economy, everybody's a generalist. Nobody, develops any real particular expertise in one area or really can improve one product. It makes production and trade difficult. So a medium of exchange, money, quintessential function of money is to serve as a medium of exchange. It is a good produced but not consumed. It's not a consumption good. It's not employed in the production of goods. It's not a capital good like a machine, but it exists only to enhance the exchange of goods or services. So ultimately, the use of money requires you to be able to store wealth in it simply by holding it. You exchange your time, your goods, your services, whatever, for an amount of money. And you may not turn around and spend it immediately. You may hold it a day, a week, a month, whatever. You may try to save it if it holds value, a store of value. So you'll hear me use that term several times tonight, store of value. Now, defining money, a little bit more accurate standard of defining money. It was given to us by Carl Menninger, who was one of the fathers or first economists in what's called the Austrian School of Economics. And he came up with the idea of salability. Salability, the ease with which a good can be exchanged with the least loss in price. It's like $1. I give you $1. and you give me a candy bar. You take that dollar and you can go buy a loaf of bread. It doesn't lose value, holds its value. But there
I
are
think
other dimensions.
Melissa just throw it out there for you in a very short phrase.
Time and relative dimension in space.
That's what
Okay.
TARDIS means, but you're talking across scales, space, and time.
Yes. Scales can be divided in smaller units without a loss of value. For example, a dollar can be divided into 100 pennies. I can buy the same thing with 100 pennies that I can with a dollar. No loss in value if it's divided into smaller units. Across space, I can carry dollars or a bunch of dollars, $1,000, whatever, easily, conveniently. So I can transport it without loss of value.
Sorry.
And then across time, this is probably the most important dimension of money, is that serving as a store of value. So I can purchase the same amount of goods and services with, $100 as I can today, and do it tomorrow, next week, next
He was
month.
in here a second ago.
Let me mute Ellen's microphone while she converses. So we've all experienced this past year or two what the loss of value in money, and purchasing power can do to the value of money, which makes more and more people question, is it a store of value? Is the dollar a good store of value, or is it losing value too fast? So that maybe even encourages people to look at alternative stores of value, such as Bitcoin. Now, one other dimension of money is referred to as hard or soft. Hard money keeps its value. Soft money does not. Soft money is easily reproduced. The quantity of it is easily increased. So money has a supply and demand function. So if you've got the same demand, but you increase the supply, well, that lowers the value of that money. And here's a graph. So you see, for example, the value of the dollar money supply in circulation kind of increasing from 1960 to 1990 on a modest, or 1995, 98, increasing on a modestly flat or slightly elevated angle. And then starting about 2000, that picks up a little bit. And then starting 2010, the angle of that increases. Starting in 2020, 2021, 22, it becomes almost exponential. This is the volume, the supply of money in the economy. This is what causes inflation. This is what causes the loss in value of the dollar. Why each dollar purchases less, why things cost more dollars. So, how would you describe the US dollar? Is it a hard currency, or has it become a soft currency? Traditionally, the dollar's been relatively hard. That's what made it, so acceptable as a reserve currency. Didn't matter what nation or where you were in the world, you could take dollars, and as you travel or store them or whatever, use them later and receive about the same value, goods and services for them. So they were in high demand around the world. Anybody would take them around the world. That's decreasingly true. So how would you describe the dollar? Hard or soft? I love history. As a economics, finance professor, I'm finance, but it's a subspecialty of economics. So, and I love history. I love architecture, several things. And money kind of plays into that. It has a structure, it has a history, and we can learn from that history. And we can see how oftentimes the past is prologue. Now, if we go back and look at primitive currencies, one good example is the rice stones on Yap Island. It's a Pacific island, little known island. Well, these were large stones. Here you see a picture of a young lady standing next to one. Some would be a little bit smaller, some of them would be a little bit bigger. And they would be literally in the center of the village. But the villagers, the Yap Islanders, would use these as currency. And they would trade them for goods or services. Now, they were highly prized. They weren't easily created. The supply didn't increase. So they held their value very well. And so for hundreds of years, don't know exactly how long, these stones were accepted as currency and did a very good job handling exchange of goods. And in the village meetings, they would publicly transfer ownership to a different villager. So
What
everybody
made these
knew
stones
who owned
so?
it.
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah.
What made these stones so valuable? What was their?
They were rare and everybody knew their value. So they agreed on what their value was, what they could buy in goods and services.
Everybody knew their value. Okay.
Yes. And their
Right.
relative value, as I said, they were in different sizes.
Mm-hmm.
And their supply, they you look at them, they have the little hole carved in them or whatever. They obviously were very, very hard to produce. In fact, this particular stone was not found on Yap Island. Nobody's really been able to come up with a good, suggestion of how these stones were transported to Yap Island, because they were the particular stone, I believe it was a type of granite, was actually on islands far away. Well, these stones over time lost their value. And how they lost their value, understanding that will help you understand Bitcoin and cryptocurrency a lot better.
Wait, did the stones erode?
Nope.
Trying
Nope.
to be funny. I know I suck at being funny, but
I'm sorry. I mean, you have your moments, but I'm kind of focused on trying to remember everything and not really.
you got to be entertaining, Clay. You got to bring the game. You got to, shake it up a little bit.
My mind gets, let's say, occupied, and I'm not looking for subtle little humor.
Well,
now, for centuries, these stones worked well for the apps, had scalability across space, time, and scale. So what happened? Well, these stones had a very high stock to flow ratio. Stock, current inventory, current amount, current volume. Flow, the addition of new stones. So think of it as inventory of 100 stones with one stone issued a year, one new stone created a year. It wasn't even that much created a year, but just for the understanding the concept, that gives you a stock to flow ratio of 100. Well, if you start increasing 10 new stones a year, that ratio drops to 10. Obviously, it falls very quickly. So that ratio is a big indicator of whether or not money is hard or soft. Does that make sense? Everybody with me?
yes. Mm-hmm. I am.
Well,
I don't know if somebody else is. I'm only saying that because I'm typing out something else. So, yay.
That's okay. In 1871, a guy by the name of David O'Keefe was shipwrecked on Yap Island. And he saw an opportunity to profit via the production and sale of coconut oil, which was a valuable commodity in Great Britain and the colonies. But he couldn't get the Yap Islanders to sell him much or produce much more because they were content with their lifestyle. So O'Keefe finally was rescued, made it back to Hong Kong, where he secured some additional funding with his idea of increasing coconut oil production. So he got a large boat of explosives and he went and he mined rice stones and produced rice stones. And then he took these stones over to Yap Island and used them to incentivize the Yaps to sell him coconut oil. So the stock to flow ratio declined. Value of the stones declined. We call it inflation. The Yap chiefs even tried to discourage the villagers from taking the stones. No, they weren't interested. They kept taking the stones. Ultimately, conflict arose because the stones wouldn't purchase more. You had the demise of the stones. You can make a fortune with that coconut oil now in Los Angeles. Coconut oil's come back in vogue. Ultimately, a money that's easy to produce is no money at all. Very simply, easy money doesn't make society richer. On the contrary, it makes most everyone poor. So wealth can be appropriated by government by creating inflation. It takes the value of the purchasing from the poor and the middle class and gives it to the politicians who are buying stuff. You know, we also talked about previously, looking at history, Rome, most powerful empire in history, that was ultimately destroyed. Why was it destroyed? Well, I would argue a big factor in that was the loss of economic value of its coin. Caesar introduced the aureus at 8.1 grams of gold. Well, Nero comes along, reduces it to 7.2 because he wants to spend more money, and there's not enough money coming in the till. So he decides to do what became known as coin clipping. He brings in the current coins, melts them down, and produces a new coin with less gold. So he reduced it from 8 grams to 7 grams. Caracalla reduced it to 6.5, Severus to 6, Diocletian 5.5, and then he ultimately replaced it with a whole new coin called the solidus at 4.5. Now, attendant with this loss of gold in every coin, this inflation, was a reduction in economic power, in Rome's influence, and even in the stability of the government that was coincident with the terminal decay of the empire itself. So the emperors, in their attempts to manage the economy, to keep people happy by giving them free stuff, only succeeded in making matters worse.
Clay, can you check the private chat, please?
Yeah. So we've got the birth of the Dark Ages. Fall of Rome started the Dark Ages. The death of sound money led to people turning into slaves. During the beginning of the Dark Ages, coins were made of copper and bronze. They were easily inflatable. So you had a series of events: the destruction of hard money, increase in taxation, the resultant inflation destroyed individual wealth. People who were once prosperous had no way to pass on wealth other than land titles granted by the king. So what changed this? Well, in 1252, Florence minted the florin. Solid hard coin. Pardon?
I love
You love
Florence.
Yeah.
I do.
Beautiful
Lived
town.
there for a summer.
What made it beautiful?
The people and the architecture.
The architecture. When was the architecture created? And who created it?
A long, long time ago, I I can still remember when that music used to make me smile. A long time
The
ago.
Medici, the Medici,
Mm-hmm.
who were bankers,
Mm-hmm.
and they became wealthy after Florence started minting the coin. In fact, a lot of people who engaged in trade and other things started acquiring private wealth because they had a hard currency that would serve as a store of value. That ultimately establishing minting the florin cemented Florence's position as a trade and banking center. So as the citizens grew wealthier, private wealth, they in turn increased demand for arts and education, which gave rise to the Renaissance. Now, the advance in banking led to gold storage at the banks, which introduced bills, checks, and paper, which kind of led to the introduction of paper money. Following that, Britain, led by the well-known Isaac Newton, adopted a gold standard in 1717. And this was key to increasing Britain's trade reach and power and influence and acceptance of its currency. Even the banknotes of the Bank of England, the pound, became known as the gold standard. So looking at all this, this was Satoshi's motivation for creating Bitcoin. No cheating, no inflation. Here is actually the paper that started all, written by Satoshi Nakamoto, which...
Does anyone know who that actually is?
No. There have been a lot of guesses, a lot of estimates. Nobody has a firm idea. In fact, now this paper was published in 2008, and the code actually started running in 2009. But if you look at the paper, it's only, I don't know, 11 pages, 9 pages long. It's a relatively simple paper. It, has a few Greek letters, and it talks about some, programming terms, those kind of things. But if you have, a year or two worth of study in programming languages and networking, this is a very basic paper. But this is what spawned the whole revolution. His motivation, again, was he wanted to create a currency where cheating was not possible and where there would be no inflation. He created a system where there was no need for trust. If you take a credit card for somebody, you're basically trusting them that that card is theirs, will go through, etc. But you have to rely on a third party to handle that, to back that, to verify everything.
How do you know the third party isn't in bed with the other two?
The third party is usually like a major bank.
Oh, because
the issuer
they're not ever corrupt.
Never corrupt. Never would be a problem.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And also, Bitcoin has been deflationary. You can actually buy more with Bitcoin now than when it was first created. That's kind of interesting to a lot of people. Now, some people, like the comedian, we just talked, Matt Rife was talking about, you'll be broke in 4 years. Well, what's happened to people who bought Bitcoin? Well, if we look at this graph, let's see, this one's actually the price. In 2011 or 12, Bitcoin was 5 cents a piece. So $100 would have bought you 2,000.
Yeah, and
Bitcoin.
if it gets over a penny, I get excited.
Yeah. So it would have bought you 2,000 Bitcoin. Well, right now, Bitcoin's selling for $45,000 roughly. $50,000. So that would be about $100 million. So I would say
Yeah.
that's held its value pretty well.
But if you bought it at the high, you're kind of screwed right now.
It is volatile. It does fluctuate.
And it's not a stock. People tend to confuse the two.
Well, what makes a stock valuable? Have people bought stocks that ended up falling in value or going bankrupt?
Yeah, all the time. But that
It
doesn't.
happens with
It does.
most.
But Bitcoin is not a stock.
No,
I think some people think that they're investing in a stock. Sorry, I got something in my eyeball. When they invest in a Bitcoin.
no, there is no company backing Bitcoin. There's nothing backing the dollar either.
All right, Carson's got a correction.
Got to correct something. The clipping didn't start with melting and recasting the stones. It was a literal cutting of edges from the coins.
True.
It sounds like you were referring to the debasement issue. Yeah, that actually is true. There was some cutting of the edges, but the recasting process itself, because it lowered the gold in each coin, has generally become the moniker for devaluing currency. Clipping the coin is kind of a catch-all phrase now.
Yes, all of you lurking people.
Without chatting, do chat. Let us know.
Chat
and
it up.
again, chat up. Ask questions. We try to answer them. We actually like questions because that means we're actually communicating. And that's the whole purpose of the channel, is to help you better understand what's going on.
And if you don't like what we're talking about, fine. But you can still listen and have a question, learn something. We have to learn something at some point in time. I try to learn something new every day.
So in terms of Bitcoin's price, you can see it went up to 60 and then back down to 15 and now is at 45. So it is volatile. But even at its lows, if you take most any 5-year period, 6-year period, you've got a gain. There's really only 2 periods where you don't. That's not bad. But you look over here, it's market cap. Now, the market cap is simply the total value of all the Bitcoin outstanding. And you can see the market cap got up to 1.2 trillion. It's now near 850 billion. That's a pretty substantial number.
Like, I can't see the writing on this because it's kind of tiny for me. But
Right.
These are the exact same graphs.
Now, this one is price, and this one actually is price times the number outstanding. Now, obviously, as price goes up, the total value outstanding of Bitcoin goes up. But the
graph is exactly the same.
Well, that's because the number of Bitcoin isn't greatly increasing. It increases very slowly.
So one's market cap and one is price. Sorry, it's
right. The blue is market cap, the total value of it all, and the green is the price of each individual coin. So they are obviously they'll move, with a high degree
in the same direction.
Yeah. But the idea is, this is not an insignificant or trivial asset. You've got, nearly $1 trillion in value of it, people holding nearly $1 trillion of it. That would make it one of the largest, most valuable assets in the world. And it's owned by rich and poor alike. So when people say, it's a fake or a fraud, I look at them like, it's been in existence for 15 years. There
Moffat.
hasn't been one fraudulent transaction to occur yet.
Moffat. It
Yes,
is
ma'am.
fake money based on the fact that it is made from mining it, which does not mean like going and digging stuff up. It is actually made from people solving algorithms.
What makes money valuable?
What you're willing to give it value for.
Yes, perception.
Mm-hmm.
Perception.
Mm-hmm. It used to be a gold standard, which I think was really good because it
What
actually has
makes
something to back it up.
what makes gold valuable?
Perception.
Perception.
Asshole. Perception.
So if there's a major economic event where all, there's a world war and cities and electricity, everything is down and whatever.
True. It is an agreement of value for trade. I get that,
What
but like
what's going to be the most valuable metal? Will anybody care about gold?
platinum.
Nope.
What? Oh, titanium? No, cobalt's not a metal. What is the battery metal? Moffat.
Lithium?
Lithium.
Nope.
What?
If everything goes to hell in a handbasket, what's the most valuable metal?
Silver? Don't know.
Lead.
Because, oh, ha ha ha. Got it.
In the
Bullets.
form of little pills.
Yep. I agree with you,
gonna,
lithium.
Nobody's going to care about
Farther.
gold. You're not going to be able to take gold and go down to the store and trade it for a loaf of bread, which even in good days, if I took a bar of gold down to the grocery store and tried to buy something with it, would I be able to execute that trade? Just say no.
Well, I mean,
I wouldn't.
no, not. I'm sure the person that at the checkout would be like, "Sure, I'll pay for your groceries and I'll take the gold."
And you've spent, how much is a bar of gold? $100,000,
I have no idea.
$150,000 for a loaf of bread?
I've never had a bar of gold. I have no idea.
And not only that, for you to accept gold, you have to be convinced that it's actually gold and not fool's gold. How do you know it isn't a bar of lead just with gold paint on it? Or what's the purity of the gold? You have to have it assayed. You have to have it tested. So gold is actually a very, very impractical metal.
I
And
get
it's
that.
only
It's
a-
soft, it's
Its
malleable.
only appeal is perception.
It's
People talk
past
about intrinsic value.
perception. Hang on.
Peop-
Before we move on, Carson said lead, specifically copper jacketed lead.
Specifically, hollow point, copper jacketed,
Yeah.
little pills, traveling at a high rate of speed.
Oh, and now, Celine. Come on. Damn it. Celine, talk to us. Was not. Okay.
I think Carson and Celine have something going on the side here.
Mm-hmm. We're here
That's
for
all
the.
right. We're
drama.
here for y'all.
Mm-hmm.
We're here for y'all if you need, like, therapists, counselors, advisors, whatever. Talk to us.
I probably
Feel
would
free.
not take Clay's any kind of personal advice. No offense. He's not great at it.
He's actually very good at it. He's just not tactful in administering it.
And he's not good at practicing it. Note to self, learn essay skills and acquire essay equipment. There you go. Hi, Celine.
Hello, Celine. How are you doing?
Okay, now this, I told Clay this was just going to mess everybody up in the head.
Nope. This actually is very easy.
Okay.
All right, let's see who's correct.
Who's correct?
Part of Satoshi's genius was in developing something called the blockchain. Now, actually, he stole bits and pieces of the idea. He didn't steal, he credited him, but he took bits and pieces of other people's idea the previous 10 years and put them together and created what we now refer to as the blockchain. And this is a picture of how the blockchain is constructed. Now, we're going to start off looking at the first block created, which is called the Genesis block.
All right, hang on. We gotta handle this Carson Celine thing. All right, next.
Celine, I was
Are you
just
reading?
dropping precious metals in DM to Carson, and apparently that's enough to be called out for.
Oh yeah, it is. Here, absolutely it is. That's what we do. But we're sweet. We won't we don't judge anyone ever. Only if you're completely out of line, then we just block you. So you're fine.
And unfortunately, we've
welcome
actually had
you.
to do that a couple times in the past.
Only twice in over a year.
Yeah. You know, some
Has it
people
been a
just
year?
get,
Wait, it hasn't even. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
been a year and
it's
a
been
half.
a year.
Woof. Okay,
It's gone by quick.
it has.
So we're going to focus first of all on this first block called the Genesis block. And a block is just the first bit of data. Now, if you'll notice, there's actually 4 blocks here. There's the Genesis block, BH1, BH2, BH3. Well, BH1 shows us what's contained in every block.
What is BH1? Block
It
history?
Huh?
Block
Ma'am?
history? Is it block history? BH.
Good question. I'm not sure. But
Or is it block one? Okay.
yeah, let's just call it block 1 after block 0, the Genesis block. Well, each block contains, if you use Bitcoin, you're buying and selling. You're exchanging Bitcoin for some good or services. Well, that's a transaction. All these green little boxes down here are the individual transactions, plus a block for newly created Bitcoin. So
Does
each
anyone
block that's
understand
written,
what he's talking about thus far?
well, give me a second.
I know. I'm just saying.
So you've got all the transactions, like a bank would have different checks processed or different credit card transactions processed. These are all the transactions. Plus, with each block that's written to the chain, there is new Bitcoin created. And that's this Coinbase, this brown block. Well, all of these transactions, instead of listing them one by one, they all go through a encryption process called hashing, using a process called a Merkle tree. So you may see that on occasion, somebody refer to the Merkle tree. The Merkle tree is just a combination, kind of like using zip for files. You have a lot of different individual files and you zip them all together in one file. Well, that is this transaction root file. The nonce. So that's one component of the block, is the
Hang on.
transaction root file.
Hang on. You got the Genesis block, and then you have the H for the next block. What is the H?
I've told you I'm not sure what BH stands for.
You don't know
Let's
what the
just
H
refer
stands
to it
for.
as a block. Yeah.
Okay. The version is what? The past?
Ellen, I'm getting there. Cool your jets.
Well, you went to nonce without getting to the first
I'm going
thing.
up. I'm starting with transaction root. starting at the bottom, going up.
Okay.
Ellen gets a little excited at times. She loves this stuff. Don't let her fool you.
No, it's just so freaking confusing. A friend of mine who actually has Bitcoin before Clay started teaching his Bitcoin class, we asked him, she and I both asked him to explain it to us. And after 30 minutes of him talking, we were like, yeah, we still don't get it. So please, you're not going to hurt Clay's feelings or mine or anyone else's because this is so freaking complicated.
It's not too bad.
He's going
Ellen's
to
just
explain
trying
this.
to plant that image in your mind.
No, but he's going to explain this again in a couple more slides.
See if that's any better.
Moffat.
So you've
Moffat.
got the transaction route. You've got the nonce. Nonce is a cute little word that stands for number used only once. And it was shortened to nonce. We'll see where that comes into play in a minute. Then you've got bits, time. These are just kind of like a timestamp and size of the block. And then you've got previous. This little hash, that's what H stands for, is a hash. Remember, I talked about how some of this is encrypted like a zip file.
So you know what the H is.
So just keep that in mind for previous. All the previous block is put through this encryption process called a hash and is embedded in this block, this header of the block. And then the version of the Bitcoin program used is embedded. Yes, ma'am.
Block hash 1.
That's fine. I'm not sure if it's Bitcoin hash, if it's block hash, whatever. It really doesn't matter.
Okay.
So you've got all of this info in the header, every header. Well, all of this, the root, the nonce, bits, time, previous, version, is put through the encryption program. It actually goes through 5 different steps of encryption and produces a hash, which is then embedded in the next one. So,
thank you, Carson.
No.
Like I don't want to talk about it anymore.
No, it's just hard to talk when you keep getting
interrupted.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
With side issues.
Thank you, Carson.
This is a snapshot of the actual Genesis block, the first block. And I only bring this up not for all the gobbledygook here in the middle, but actually over here. Whoops.
Oh, shit.
If you'll notice in the notes, there's actual English you can read. The Times, 03, January 2009. Chancellor on brink of second bailout. Well, what's that refer to? Well, if you look at the Times of London, the headline, Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. So Satoshi, at the very beginning of Bitcoin, the very first block, the Genesis block, he's telling everyone why he created this. Because the banking system is failing. The banking system based on current money is failing. And he wanted to create a better alternative. So he buried it right in the first block, the Genesis block. Whoops. Sensitive little thing. The Genesis block. Now, each one of those blocks, here's a nice color picture of the block. You've got the header. You've got the whole block. The blue and the white part consist of the header, which also embeds the Merkle tree, all the individual transactions. and it includes the hash, the encoding of the previous block. So once this is written, you've got the hash of the previous block, the transactions, the timestamp, and the knots. All of that is run through this encryption program, which was created by the CIA called SHA 256.
The CIA?
Yes, created SHA 256,
Okay.
an encryption program. And it takes data, you can have a stream of English, you can have a file, whatever you want. And it is put through this encryption program, and it produces a series of numbers and letters. And these numbers and letters are specific to the input information. So even if you change one character in the input information, the whole number, the whole output is different. And that's important. So you've got the input of all this information to generate. It may be a 16, a 32, a 64-bit output of characters. And that's important to keep in mind. That's called the hash. A hash example. Now, I actually created a file because you can hash on your computer. Now, I don't know if you want to or not, but this is something that is relatively easy to do. I can get it up. Well, maybe I won't. It's messing up the screen. But you can create a separate file like in a notepad. Well, thought I had it written down. I apparently do not. And with a relatively simple command, you can take this phrase, hello, comma, world, exclamation point, 0, run it through the encryption program. And you get this stream of characters. Well, this stream of characters has a mathematical value. And here it is. It's 2 to the 252nd point, blah, 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 power. We talked about the blocks, how you create a new block. Well, for the privilege of creating that new block and being paid in the Bitcoin created, that's how you earn Bitcoin. It's a process called mining. You have to solve a problem. And that problem is, for example, I want a hash that has a value smaller than 2 to the 240 power. Well, this combination of hello world 0 gives me this hash, which has a value of 2 to the 252nd power. That's above 240. So that hash doesn't work. So I change it by incrementing this number, 1. Go from 0 to 1. Rehash it. That gives me a value of 2 to the 255 power. So I increment it one more. This is actually the 0, 1, 2 is the knots in the block. So every time the solution doesn't arrive, doesn't hit, I increment the knots by 1, rehash it, and boom, Well, eventually I get down to hello world, exclamation point, 4,250. And my hash value is 2 to the 239, which is less than 2 to the 240th power. So I now have a solution to the problem. And I have earned the right to write the next block in the Bitcoin blockchain. So I earn the newly created Bitcoin reward. So it took me 4,250 attempts to solve that problem. Now, most computers can do this calculation, this simple calculation, at about 4 million hashes per second. So when you have all these computers trying to compete to write the next block, you obviously have a lot of computing power trying to solve the problem. Well, the Bitcoin problem, the Bitcoin algorithm automatically adjusts the complexity of the problem so that it takes about 10 minutes to write a new block. If blocks are starting to be solved and rewritten in 9 minutes, 8 minutes, then the algorithm, the computer, the Bitcoin program will increase the difficulty of the problem. So the more computers, the more computing power, the more difficult the solution gets. Everybody with me so far? If you want to do it on your computer, here's how you do it. You just create a notepad file, type in it hello world, save it as hello world, and then you enter in this command, get file hash, wherever the location, the path to your file is, bar format dash list, and it will compute a hash. So I have this file. All I have in it is hello world, period. And I get this hash. So
And then what do you do with that hash?
Well, this hash has a numerical value. And does it solve the algorithm? Remember, in this one, I had to have a value smaller than 2 to the 240th power. So I kept solving it, and none of these values are below 240 until I get to this last one, which is attempt 4,250. So this hash has a value, which doesn't solve the problem. So I add 1 to hello world. It becomes hello world period 1. That's my nonce, number used only once. It doesn't change the contents of the file. It's just an incremental variable that I keep changing until I solve the problem. Now, notice this also. When I make a very small change, all I do is add 1 character. Look at the 2 hashes. They are nowhere similar.
No, they're not even close.
Not even close. It changes it completely. And that's part of the security of Bitcoin and the blockchain, why it's never been hacked, why it's impossible to hack, even by very powerful computers. Because computers cannot decode this and arrive at your original construction, your original information. And we'll look at this encoding process a little bit more.
Carson, can you read that?
Yeah, I know this is a little small.
Carson's understood this since the block payout was 50 Bitcoin if he'd been smart.
Yeah, only if.
I think Clay did too, but he just hasn't, he didn't, you know.
Yeah, I didn't get in it to about 2014, 2015. Here is 64 characters, alphanumeric, caps, small caps, numbers. And this is your private key. say you want to send somebody some Bitcoin, you want to pay them. Or, I'm sorry, you want to get paid. Well, they need to know where to send it to your account. But you don't want to give them your private account number. So Bitcoin has a process to calculate an
We got a
account number you can give to them. Ma'am?
We got a couple comments.
Okay. Let's pause for a minute on that, Clay. The security comes from the massive HAR.
What is HAR?
Don't know if he's typing
Anyone?
something else or not.
Anyone?
Bueller?
Bueller.
Bueller?
Pratt. Bueller.
All right, while he adds to that, I'm going to go ahead and finish this.
Okay.
So I don't want to give out my public number. So, but I want people to be able to send me money to pay me. So the Bitcoin program will convert this number into this number, which is an even longer number. Now, there are several steps to this, obviously, but this is called the public key. That goes through another encryption program, and then through another encryption program, which produces this number, this combination of letters and characters. Well, that goes through the SHA 256 2 times, which produces this 4-byte output, 8-character output. That goes through another encryption program, which produces this string of letters. This is the address you will give for somebody to pay you. So it has gone through 5 different encryption steps in order to produce the number you pass out to get paid. So it's virtually impossible for somebody to take this number and determine your private key. Carson, hash rate. It is possible to rewrite past blocks, but because of the system works with a distributed ledger, change the previous block would need to execute a 50+1 attack, which is impossible. Right now, there are probably 1.2 million computers on the Bitcoin network. So you have 1.2 million computers, all with the same database, all with the same blockchain, basically the same blockchain.
Okay, the next comment, that means they would need to control 50% plus one of the computers in the world that are mining Bitcoin.
Right. Because if one computer has a different blockchain than all the other computers, it's automatically kicked out of the node. So somebody could, yes, go in and try to alter one computer. But once that computer differs from other computers, it's kicked out of the blockchain and is not allowed back in. So there's a very steep penalty for trying to commit fraud. And if you'll notice, back in our original construction, every new block created has a hash of the previous block embedded. Remember I talked about the Genesis block was hashed and included in block 1? Well, block 1 is completely hashed. The whole block is hashed and included in block 2, which is hashed, and that hash is included in block 3. So if I went back to block 1 and tried to change one number in one of these transactions, it would completely change the hash for that block, which would completely change the hash for block 2. and so on and so forth, which the other computers would sense that the hashes have changed and kick that computer out. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. I think. Sorry,
So
lots of things going on.
That's part of the security of the blockchain. That's a big component of the security of the blockchain, which makes it impossible to hack, because nobody has the ability to simultaneously, immediately change the information on 500,000 or 600,000 computers plus one all at once. You have to do it immediately, simultaneously. If you do it with some sort of stagger or delay or difference in time, they would be kicked out of the network. That's how the program, the blockchain program, protects itself from alteration and changes.
All right, there's a few more comments. I gotta go take care of something real quick, but I'll be right back.
Okay. Carson, beyond that, there are people that run nodes that aren't mining that have full download of the ledger. So the 51 attack doesn't have enough computers to overcome all the nodes. Any attack is hopeless. Also, minor correction, you share your public key, but keep your private key well private. That way you can receive Bitcoin and not give control of your account. I think that's what I said. If not, that's what I meant to say. That's certainly what this picture indicates. Yep, it causes a cascade effect of changing the entire blockchain to be changed with the absolute precision needed for the timing to successfully execute a 50+1 attack, and successful in theory only. Yeah, I haven't even seen good theory that enables a 50% plus one attack. One, nobody even knows where or what all computers are on the system, which would make determining the number you have to attack and alter it all at once extremely difficult. There are some computers that are on it, then off, on it, then off. Yeah, just don't see it being possible. Now, part of the advantage of Bitcoin is that if you have a credit card or you're in some foreign country and you want to, go to the ATM and withdraw money in the local currency, well, you actually have to go through that foreign bank, which goes through a intermediary. That transaction goes through an intermediary, which possibly goes through another intermediary, which goes through another intermediary before it gets to your bank. So each one of those intermediaries is run on what we call a centralized system. All the information goes through one central point. So if somebody is able to access that computer, that server, they can hack and alter the data. And that has been done many times before. That's largely how for example, a lot of your private information is stolen. There are decentralized networks, some of which use kind of a group decentralization. You'll have kind of a group form off of some computers. That's one form of decentralized. A distributed ledger, which is what the blockchain is, well, every computer can talk to every other computer. So there is no centralized system or generally decentralized system to attack. Here, if I attack 3 or 4 computers, I can change all of them. Here, I have to attack all of them, or at least 50% plus one. Every computer can communicate with every other computer. You can have users that are anonymous, or you can have users that are not anonymous. In a non-anonymous system, usually permission is required from the system to join the system. So the system kind of verifies your qualifications. They may have some standard, but the system verifies your participation. With the anonymous system, you just download the software and you're in, you're up and running. It doesn't need to approve you. And that's what the Bitcoin blockchain is. It's not an approved system. All the users are anonymous, known only by their public key. I like to show this just for the fun of it. This
You got to
actually
make it
is
bigger. Can you actually like make that whole thing bigger?
Well, let's see. No. Maybe I can do this.
See? You got to put it
Yeah.
on top.
See, it doesn't work.
You got to arrange and put on top, or just open it in a different window.
No, somebody, they can Google it if they want to see the particulars. But this is just basically a chat board. We're in 2010.
Hey,
One of the
Moffat,
participants, yes, ma'am.
if you get on the bottom of your screen, the bottom right hand, there is a percentage of how big it is, the whole thing.
Yes.
And you can scroll that up. Maybe we can see the whole thing. Okay, there we go. Perfect.
Better.
Mm-hmm.
Still probably too small for many of you to read, but there it is. And you can Google it. Guy by the name of Laszlo, Laszlo, in 2010, ran an ad on this chat board offering to pay Bitcoin for pizza. He offered 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 pizzas. And he said maybe 2 large ones so that I have some left over for tomorrow. I like things like onions, peppers, sausage. So, kind of a generic, non-specific, just a nice little offer. Well, he took a couple days, but he got somebody to buy his pizza for 10,000 Bitcoin. And remember, during this time, Bitcoin was around, 7, 10 cents, 5 or 7 cents a piece. So he was offering roughly $50 worth of value for 2 pizzas. Fast forward to today, that 10,000 Bitcoin for the 2 Papa's pizzas would be worth $435 million, or about 6.5 tons of gold. How cool is that? That was the first business transaction using Bitcoin in history. Just kind of an easy little deal. But Bitcoin is actually very easy to use, very easy to start using, very easy to spend. Bitcoin has the advantage of solving a number of problems. Obviously, there have been no security issues with it. No leaks.
Can I back us up a little? I'm sorry, there was a lot going on in here. Can you back up the last slide for a second? Because I think I had a question about that.
Sure.
I apologize.
That's fine. This one?
Yeah, current value is 435,000. Okay, I thought it was more than that at one point. No?
You thought what was more than that?
The value of the 10,000 Bitcoin.
Oh, no, in 2010, it was probably about roughly a nickel to 7 cents.
No, I meant, but it has declined now as of the highest price it's been.
Which was 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
It got up to 60,000. It's now about 45-ish.
Okay. I'm sorry. I was just,
No, that's fine. We're here for questions.
I was a little behind.
That's all right. So Bitcoin solves privacy and security issues. You don't have to give your private information, your private banking information, your private identifying information to any other bank, foreign or domestic. You don't. So there can be no leaks of personal info, no third party risk, no third party involvement, no third party fees and expenses, or fourth and fifth party. One programmer referred to this security as the God particle. I'm sorry, the God protocol. The God protocol. It's just a play off the God particle, which scientists have named the Higgs boson particle, saying it's the fundamental element of everything that exists. The God particle, the God protocol. This removes the need for trust. You don't have to trust anybody on the Bitcoin system in exchanging Bitcoin. The system is your confidence because the system verifies that the money's there, handles the transaction. Once that individual, or you put in that individual's number, private key, public key, and amount, the system handles it all. They can't stop it. They can't revoke it, whatever. It also removes the potential for inflation because the supply of Bitcoin is fixed. It's a very liquid system. They're very low fees. There are not high fees to conduct transactions. Now, doesn't mean that you want to go into the store and buy a loaf of bread with Bitcoin. I personally think that Bitcoin will be used to transfer in the future going forward large amounts of money or international trades. For example, immigrants in this country who get paid in cash will oftentimes go buy Bitcoin and then transfer it to their home country, Ecuador, Guatemala, wherever, Iran, Iraq, whatever, because the money's there in under 10 minutes. There's very little fees involved. Quick, safe, secure, boom. Whereas if you try to send money via, current international standards, it'll probably take 3 days to clear. It may take up to 2 weeks to clear. And there may be, $10 fee to do it, $10 fee to receive it, whatever. So Bitcoin has huge and significant advantages as far as transferring wealth or value. We already talked about it's unhackable. No altering of the ledger is possible. And it just simply allows trustless, permissionless, near immediate transactions with privacy protection and ensuring payment. So what more would you want out of a currency system? I mean, I can buy cars with Bitcoin. I can go on Amazon and use Bitcoin. A lot of restaurants, stores will now take Bitcoin. So is that fake money? I have a hard time seeing it as that.
It's not real. There's nothing to back it up.
I can buy more with Bitcoin than I can with gold.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, it's not.
It's perception.
It is. It's all perception.
It's all perception. If somebody perceives
yes.
something as valuable, if they will kill somebody else for it, it's valuable.
But you got to think. Let's say you witness a car accident, and you and 10 other people do, right? Correct?
Okay.
Okay. based on the holographic society that we're in, where there's different viewpoints, literally, from where you're standing. And then your perception also backs up or skews your perception, correct? Everyone sees a different thing. So perception is so malleable.
Oh, well, there's, many people that don't perceive Bitcoin as valuable. Meanwhile, billions of dollars in transactions are occurring.
I understand that, but I don't see the point in, besides that you want to make money, but I don't see the point in making transactions with Bitcoin, because most people who don't want their transactions to be known are criminals.
No, they're not. Absolutely not.
Really?
Bitcoin is actually not a good system for criminals.
So the black market is never a place that Bitcoin will be used.
You can't say never. I mean, what currency is used more than any to conduct criminal transactions?
Don't know.
Yeah, you do. The dollar.
I agree with you, Celine. I'm with you there, honey.
The dollar. Is that going to keep you from using the dollar?
No, but at the same time, it's like, diamonds, blood diamonds are so freaking, are not really popular, but expensive, right? And yet there's a place in New York called the Herkimer Diamond called Herkimer, New York, where they have quartz that resembles a diamond. And it is way more unavailable than actual diamonds are. More rare. So what is it's so weird.
Well, most anything new is weird to a lot of people. They're not comfortable with it. That's been part of the hesitation with Bitcoin. But let me put it to you this way. All currency is going to be digital probably within 5 years. Whoops. She's on, she's off, she's on, she's off.
All right, I'm back.
All currency is probably going to be digital in 5 or 10 years.
Well,
So
almost all cars will be too, so that the government can actually just cut them all off.
Yep.
I mean, why are we doing this? Why is this a good thing?
Well, Bitcoin is a good thing because it's more efficient, it's safer, it's more secure, it's cheaper, quicker, runs higher, jumps taller, faster than a speeding bullet, whatever.
Why shouldn't we be smarter?
About
Everything. Why don't we buy cars made in the 70s so we can actually fix them and the government can't?
Well, Ellen, that's a whole different topic. Let's just stick with crypto right now.
Well, sometimes we need to. Yes, Elaine. Hang on. We got lots of comments here.
Y'all can tell when Ellen gets a little anxious.
I do. And I got a lot going. There's nothing, Carson. And then Celine. Nothing anymore since moved away from the gold standard. But like Clay was saying, I mean, does that even mean anything? People's faith in the U.S. government, I don't have no faith in that. Yeah, and they shouldn't know what you buy. And that should be, it should be like HIPAA. Like credit card companies just can't throw out what you buy, or your bank can't just say, hey, she bought something there. Correct?
Well, that Bitcoin allows that. It allows you to conduct transactions in private. So you don't want credit card companies knowing what you buy? Use Bitcoin.
Moffitt, how much is one Bitcoin?
45 grand. But you can buy fractional amounts. You can buy $5 worth of Bitcoin.
But why would I buy $5 worth?
To buy a candy bar
with. What's that gonna? I've got my secret $5 deal on the side.
So that the credit card companies don't know what candy bars you like.
That
I
is
mean,
true.
whatever the example is you want to use, if you want privacy in terms of how you spend your money, Bitcoin. If you want security in terms of how you spend your money, Bitcoin.
The
If you
government
want,
can take that away from you in 2 seconds.
no, they can't.
They can tank the market. They can. I'm sorry, I am one of those people that does not trust the government at all.
No, that's
At
fine, but
all.
that's why a lot of people are switching and moving to Bitcoin. That's why I moved, switched or started using. I can't say switched. That's why I started
Moffat,
using it back in 7 years ago.
Moffat, how many Bitcoins have we bought? Different
Ellen, I'm
ones.
not going into all that.
Okay. So it's not, you
I
can't
don't
just
use
do,
it for regular living expenses. I freely admit that. But
yeah, De Beers did a
my
great job.
my attraction to it 7 years ago was because I wanted to have privacy. I didn't have confidence in the dollar.
Do y'all remember, sorry, I got a lot going here. Pat Robertson, who was a pastor in Norfolk or Virginia Beach. I had a Navy, get them all riled up, a Navy SEAL friend dove for blood diamonds for him, which is just sad. I mean, it's just like, but they needed money. They were like kind of screwed after Afghanistan, and SEALs got to do something. Absolutely. I hear you, Carson. Go, feed it. Go with Pop. Go. Sorry. Yeah, 5 finger discount would be probably more of a thing.
Yeah, but
And
like
then there's
Carson
a
points
million.
out,
Yeah, that's the problem. Is there's so many, and none of them are successful.
do what?
There's 100 million fetishes. I can't pronounce it correctly. I'm sure. I suck at that.
Satoshis.
Satoshis and Bitcoin. So, like, there's so many of them, and no one can actually afford Bitcoin.
Yeah,
I
they
think it's a
can. You can buy
monopoly.
$5 worth. You can buy
It's a
$50 worth.
monopoly. It's a monopoly, and I think it's wrong. How about that?
It's not a monopoly because it's not controlled by any one person, company, or machine.
Oh, stop it.
It's just not.
Yes, you can actually thank Celine. We can actually thank a very famous Pat Robertson pastor for a lot of the diamond stuff, which was so enlightening to me. Plays like Ellen, shut up.
No, I'm like, there's just nothing I can say to that. It's just, and it's not really on the topic. But
All
if you
right,
want to talk
Carson.
about it, go ahead.
No, I just think it's wrong that a very famous pastor who literally
Well,
robbed people
we
of
don't need to
millions
be
of
saying that
dollars.
because we don't have any
You
proof.
just said do it. No, I do. The Navy
Well,
SEAL lived with me for 6 years.
It's
No, it's not
alleged. It's alleged. You have no proof.
No. He hired him. He has a paycheck from him.
Ellen,
Is that not?
you have no proof. You have an allegation.
I
Maybe
saw
you
the
trust
paycheck.
it. Maybe I don't. But we can't be accusing anybody of anything specific. We don't have proof. That
But
puts us
except that
subject
it's
to libel, to slander, and
okay.
we're just
Fine,
not
whatever.
going to do that.
All right. Thank is a strong word. Oh.
All right, back to crypto. The thing about it is a new technology. And when I see new technology, I think of the process of creative destruction. Creative destruction. That's a term coined by an Austrian economist, guy by the name of Joseph Schumpeter, which he used to describe the process of progress. Old ways are constantly getting, replaced by newer, more efficient, more exciting, more acceptable technologies or ways. It's kind of like the horse and buggy industry in the US back in the early 1900s. We could have issued regulations and laws to protect it from this newfangled contraption that was noisy, it was smoky, it broke down often. But automobiles, we could have had today the world's largest, most vibrant horse and buggy industry in the world, and we would probably be a third world nation. Just think of all the jobs and flexibility that cars have given us and automobiles have created. We'd have none of that. But we'd have a great horse and buggy industry. So those people who are invested in the old technologies, yes, they end up losing the destruction. But there's usually far more to be gained in terms of jobs, overall prosperity by the creative part. And, that's kind of the way I view Bitcoin. Digital coins, digital currencies are coming. They are the future. And governments will issue their own. The Federal Reserve and the Treasury are in the process of developing and issuing a United States digital currency. And when they do that, they will know everything you purchase, everywhere you spend anything, they'll know. And they'll also be able to immediately stop you from buying anything they don't want you to buy. In Canada, we saw how they started blocking access to bank accounts from the truckers. That'll be a whole lot easier with a digital currency. And they will literally know what everybody's doing. Now, all this started because a lot of the big news this week, past few weeks, about a Bitcoin ETF, the so-called financialization of Bitcoin. And I saw this post and thought it was somewhat interesting because this person was arguing that Wall Street just gained control of Bitcoin with the ETF. And he has this post with the fine print. But in it, they're saying that they may keep some cash, they may not invest it all in Bitcoin. And he's talking about, let's see, where is it? Perspective says they can buy from Coinbase or hold the cash. They don't own the Bitcoin. There are two huge pools of money with no one obligated to own the actual coin. So his concern is that all this money is pouring into the ETF, but the ETF won't actually buy Bitcoin, which would obviously, with sizable amounts of cash inflows, impact the price because the supply is fixed. Or he's thinking that more and more the ETF owns, the more they will control Bitcoin. Well, that's the thing about Bitcoin. It can't be controlled by somebody owning a slug of it. If they don't want to spend it, that obviously lowers the supply in the marketplace, causes the price to rise. And if they want the price to fall, they obviously can dump some on the market. So it will temporarily drop the price. But why would anybody want to cost themselves money or take huge losses? I mean, I'm not going to say that's not possible, but it's not an exceedingly great motive. And so what does the ETF do? Well, first of all, I think it grants a more broad stamp of legitimization to Bitcoin. its use. It makes it more available, more convenient for more people, small or large investors. So it makes it more available. And being more available, more acceptable, more legitimate, I would expect its use to continue to grow. It continue to be more and more adopted and used. So, we've seen a pretty decent run up in price over the past month in anticipation of this ETF. Now, like I say, some of the pundits included some notable individuals like Peter Schiff. Peter Schiff hates Bitcoin. He made this post the other day. Bitcoin's already fallen from above 49,000 to just below 42. It went to 41.5, somewhere around there. That's over a 14% decline. Could be a long weekend for bulls. Well, Schiff has never been a fan of Bitcoin. And yes, Bitcoin did fall to, 41.5, as you can see here on the graph. I'm sorry, you can't really see here on the graph. This graph shows that a year ago, Bitcoin was around $20,000. As of this afternoon at 2:48, it was right under $43,000. So yes, yesterday it fell to 41.5, primarily because of a lot of South Korean profit taking. But it's already bounced up back to nearly 43,000 from its high of 46. It is volatile. It does jump around. But Schiff has constantly predicted bad things for Bitcoin. Here's one he made in 2018.
I'm sorry. Hang on.
Pardon?
Am I still on? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep up. I've got.
It's okay.
Pop went outside. I couldn't find him, and then I saw Marley come in, and I was like, "Okay, where's Pop?" But I think we're okay now. I had to check everything out.
We know you got a fair amount going on. But here's Peter Schiff in 2018 talking about, don't make the mistake of thinking that buying Bitcoin below 3,800 is a bargain just because the current price is better than 80% below its record high. Bitcoin's price could easily drop another 80% from here, and at 750, it would still be expensive. So, yeah, if you could have bought Bitcoin at 3,820 at the end of 2018, and
sign me up.
It's now 43,000. I think you'd be pretty damn happy. So here's the big question of the night.
Hang on. Carson says Schiff doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. I would happen to agree with that.
He's been consistent on that point.
Who, Schiff or Carson?
Yeah, Schiff. So here's my big question to y'all. Which one would you rather own, gold or Bitcoin? And I've listed some advantages of both. Gold is tangible. Bitcoin doesn't need a saying. Bitcoin does need electricity and either a phone or computer. Gold, you need a truck and guards.
No, I would say no.
Which one is easier to buy bread with?
Personally, I would.
Hold on. Sorry. Hold on. Which one has increasing demand? So now, go ahead, Ellen. Which one would you rather have?
I would say, well, since our grid is in trouble, and that will take down the whole country for years, I'll take gold. It is tangible. I don't need a truck or a guard. I can guard myself and my gold. Sorry. Easier to buy bread with when you have no electricity? Gold. You can't. That is the biggest threat to the U.S. right now. Increasing demands. You know what? Y'all go buy all the crypto you want. I will keep my gold. EFTs, futures. Why don't you just buy NFTs?
Who else?
I think EFT, NFT.
Carson. I'd rather own Bitcoin. I'm kind of with you, Carson.
Carson, in 2021, I had a neighbor, I'm not going to give any details, okay, that worked for a major county. Well, not worked for, she ran it, that had one of the major substations, one of the 19 major power stations of the U.S. And he had meetings with the FBI bi-weekly on their request. Because if 2 of the 19 go down, we are screwed for over a year with electricity, internet, everything. So, yeah, I'll take that gold any day of the week.
But gold won't do you any good then because nobody will accept it. They won't know
There's
if it's
got to
your
be
gold.
some.
You won't be able to subdivide
I'm sorry.
it.
You want paper dollar? Okay.
Yeah.
You can't trade Bitcoin. You have no electricity. You have no internet.
We'll all be trading bearskin rugs under the tree. So in
But
a
you have
case
to
scenario,
go back. You have to go back to the beginning. Like, what is valuable?
the thing is, in your scenario, neither one will be valuable. And as soon as electricity is restored, Bitcoin regains its value. Gold, not so much.
Carson,
in addition,
they were saying they'll take 2 years to get back on the grid. So y'all have fun.
There's a lot of, houses, places that have solar power. So, a lot of the Bitcoin transactions can likely still continue. You can actually buy and sell Bitcoin with a flip phone. You don't even need a smartphone. You can use it. The system allows for use by simple flip phones.
That
Who
won't
else?
be the major catastrophe.
I mean, gold's a legitimate choice. I don't necessarily agree for various reasons, but it's a legitimate choice. There's a lot of people that do prefer gold.
I mean, Carson, I hope you know something I don't.
Carson, an electrical grid crash won't be the major catastrophe that so many predict.
It will.
It will help if you can grow your own food or if you can defend yourself, let's just say.
It is a
But
network.
there's a lot of people that can't do either.
And the solar won't work as well as you think it might.
Depends on the source of the loss of the grid. If 2 of the major grid stations are taking out, solar will still work fine. If it's an EMP,
We're all fucked.
And you're within range, it'll probably take out your solar. If it's an EMP and you're not in range, your solar will be fine.
Bitcoin's not really on the U.S. grid, right? Exactly. But we are the hub of many of the platforms that host these things.
Yeah, but even if Carson's point is that even if the U.S. is taken out or a big portion of the U.S. is taken out, Bitcoin still survives around the world. Your Bitcoin's still valid. You don't lose
that, but what do you do with Bitcoin? Like, how you can't access it unless you can get on a slow boat to China.
You temporarily may not be able to access it. Gold, you won't be able to sell it. You won't be able to divide it. You won't be able to test it. And it's very, very heavy to carry around.
Yeah. I'm the eternal what if.
That's all right.
I'm not a pessimist. I think you know that. But I'm the eternal what if.
Yeah. Well, there you have it.
We're just assholes.
Yeah, it is. The future is going to be digital currency. So do you want your wealth and spending controlled
by the government?
Known by the government, or would you rather it not?
No.
That's one
I prefer no.
That is the big problem governments have with Bitcoin is they cannot control it. China, for example, has tried to outlaw it 3 times, and each time's failed. Simply cannot be controlled by Bitcoin. Bitcoin cannot be controlled by governments. To me, that's a big plus. Melissa, my dad will not be happy about that. There's a lot of us that will be in the same boat with your dad, but I just don't think we can stop it. Celine, we don't judge. Never.
Hey, Celine, we love you being here.
Yes, we do.
What
We
that
appreciate
means,
you chipping in.
Carson. What if my aunt had? I don't have an aunt. What does that mean? Or an aunt? Do you know, Clay? I don't.
I think that's just implying that maybe the example used is a little extreme. It's not a practical risk or circumstance.
I'm just afraid of all the things. Not afraid, but I know
There's a
this,
certain amount.
and I'm
Yeah.
concerned because
Yeah.
I watch most of the government judiciary oversight, all the things, and it's a little scary. Not gonna lie. Should wish your uncle should be your uncle's hobbies, which work better. Anyway, but dude, I know. Like I'm all about dudes, like figuring out the things, but I have thoughts, and if you can't convey those thoughts in a way that I understand, or except I mean, I'm not a dumbass. I act like one on TV. I think Clay can back me up on that one.
Listen, I'm staying out of this. Ellen's a little bit stressed. She's been real busy, got a lot going on.
No, I'm asking Clay, am I a dumbass?
Huh?
Am I a dumbass?
No. I think you're
Okay.
very bright and intelligent. I think you're a
I
little
don't-
ornery.
I don't let I am ornery. I don't let the questions paralyze my actions. But I'm not going to buy into something that I am not sure is something that I can count on. That's all.
Main thing is, gold's is an acceptable choice. Bitcoin's an acceptable choice. You got to choose your lesser of evils. And people will have different things that they value, different things that they trust. And that's okay. We'll talk it out. We'll disagree some. We'll have different perspectives. And that's good. That's how people learn and can improve their own decision making.
Sorry.
So
I'm not sure what Celine's reacting to, but
I
okay.
think there's this post by Carson. If your aunt had balls, she'd be your uncle, which is how it goes. We'll work better in years past. And then Celine's chipping in, going, "You could have
Could've
just said that."
That would have been helpful.
All right. Well, Carson, the ladies are aligned against us. It's not our night, man.
I was trying to tie into the what if. There is no what if. There is when. And Clay cannot say he does not agree because he is a prepper.
Oh, I always have a plan B and
You
maybe a
metaphor
plan
too
C.
close.
Do what?
You metaphor too close to the sun. Not the first time.
Nah. Yes, and Carson, it
I'll
won't be
let-
the last time.
Celine and Carson worked that one out. But yeah. Thank y'all. Oh my gosh. It is 9:09 p.m.
Yep.
in Eastern North Carolina. Or the,
So,
or the
ladies
last
and gentlemen,
time.
I think we have a tired little girl.
It's been a long day. I got a lot done though. I got more stealing taken care of, which is always good. Love that. And it's a long day.
We'll say goodnight, Ellen. ladies, gentlemen, all y'all. We
Good night,
appreciate
all.
you joining us.
We love ya.
We do. We enjoyed having you.
Melissa,
Enjoyed being with
Celine,
you.
Carson, Brentwood, Two Towns, everybody.
All those on replay crew, love you guys too.
And we're grateful for you.
Pancake, Sky Ricky, thank you
Mhm.
all. And
Oh, yeah.
let us know, any comments, suggestions, things you want to see covered, questions you may have. Please don't forget to do the YouTube things, like, subscribe. Give us a repost or retweet on Twitter or wherever. And we appreciate your support.
Yes, please like, subscribe. It helps us so much. It costs you nothing.
We hope y'all all have a good week. And our time is up. We thank you for yours. Good night, y'all.